us to incorporate Veterans Court. 2017, they started the Veterans Navigator Office over at DC Courts, which provides services to any veteran in the district that has any dealings with DC Courts, whether you're doing actual litigation or you just having an issue with the landlord or tenant. They provide services or information as to being able to connect you with resources that you may or may not be aware of, or if you try to reach out and there's been an issue with effective communication, they liaise on behalf of the veteran over there at the DC Courts at the Marshall Building. So Vets Rides, our transportation program. So earlier today, WMATA had their board of directors meeting, and I testified on behalf of MOBA and the veterans to advocate for free transportation, Metro Rail, Metro Bus for all veterans. The look on their faces when I introduced it was, okay, it seemed like they were listening and engaging. I know that right now they have the discount for severely disabled veterans, meaning 60% or more service connected through the VA, and that's great. But one thing about our agency, we advocate for all veterans, all 30,000 vets that live in the city.
Yo.
We want to make sure that it's equitable. The cost of living is rising every day in the District of Columbia, and anything that we can do to offset those costs, or just to pay tribute to the service of the men and women that allow us to live freely, is what I convey to the board of directors today. So I'll get the schedule. We'll put it out. If the other thing was, where's your veteran constituents? It's 5 of us in the office advocating for 30,000 vets. And so to me, that was a challenge to get 30,000 vets to flood their board of directors meeting. When he asked, okay, where's the rest of your veteran constituents in making this request? Well, we're their advocates. It's tough making ends meet in DC to take off for 2 minutes is what they give you to allocate, which means that between getting dressed, getting ready, there is no call-in option, so it's not necessarily accommodating to everyone just to come down for 2 minutes to express your concern as to being able to have the affordability of Metro Bus and Metro Rail to get to employment, job opportunities, and so on and so forth. So as an agency, last year, you guys may be familiar, we launched the Vets Rides program, and as of October 1st, the program will be coming back. Right now, we're just in the contracting phase with various transportation providers to find out how we can make it last, longer than 3 months, which is what happened last time. We just ran out of funding. So we're revising and tweaking the program. It's going to have more stipulations associated with it, not as far as eligibility, but as far as usage and utilization once you're actually on the program. Big, lofty goals and ambitions. When we rolled it out last time, we said, you're a veteran, you're eligible, you get to use the service. That was it. It was like we were just happy to be there, right? And then, of course, in the pilot program, you learn from your mistakes and say, 3 in the morning, you're not going to the VA Medical Center 7 days a week. We just can't fund that. And so we're in that process now where we're, making sure that we have providers that have the capacity to serve 30,000 vets in the city. If for whatever reason all of our veterans become eligible based on socioeconomic or discharge status for the program, we want to be able to not turn them away. Right now, we have 339 vets that are currently enrolled, and we plan to enroll at least another 150 between October 1st and the end of that next year. And so right now, we proposed the request to the City Council for additional funding for operating budget for our office in the form of a grants manager, because a lot of the programs that we have designed and laid out for our year ahead require the ability for us to be able to supplement the funding under the line item budgets that City Council allocates them over. And we have a mandate even aside from that to be able to bring in more money into the house, right? And not to say that it's not plausible, but it's tough to manage all of the legislation, all of the programs and services that we're doing without having someone directly mission-oriented on seeking, like a watchdog, opportunities from federal community-based organizations to provide revenue for our agency to provide these services like Vets Rides or Food Kitchen or whatever initiatives that we have laid out. We can have the desire to do it, but without money, it's gonna be an ambition that won't be coming to manifestation. So that's what we're working on now, is just finalizing the details of Vets Rise. In addition to petitioning WMATA's board, spoke to Chairman Evans and General Manager this morning, freely, and just let them know who I am, who our agency is, and that we're not going away. If they can do it for the school children, I'm sure there's more elementary through high school age children in the city than 30,000 vets. And whatever OSSI or whomever the agency was that advocated and lobbied for that to happen, what about us? We're a federal protected class, and why not us? That's the approach that I always take. I see him.
Right. And there should be a merging of the communities is what we're working for. We're working to bring the communities together, the young people and the older veterans.
Right,
The older veterans don't really want to talk about the same thing that the way the younger veterans or some of the young other people that have different kinds of trauma, but getting the older people and the younger people, this melding of the communities rather than the division.
Right. And so, and one thing that I always make known to anyone, any organization, the city council, and Elliot does, and Director Ross, Eli before him. That's great. Veterans as a whole are not divisive. We're more united than any sub-demographic group that's out there. We are not discriminated by race, origin, gender, creed. You name it. If you want to win, listen to your vets, because we're all inclusive, right? There is no division amongst those that serve. We know that what's going on in that administration now, trying to put the trans ban. Anybody, in my opinion, speaking candidly, if you want to serve and allow us to continue to serve the world the way that we are, to be, the leaders of the free world, why are we doing that? But that aside, that's the one thing that I always say, is that whether you're an 18-year-old veteran that was discharged because of a medical, or whether you're the last World War II veteran that's left, it's our agency's responsibility to make sure we advocate for services for all. And the next thing, we partner with Operation Gratitude, so the boxes that you see behind us, they're not just there just as a stage. Like, one of the things is always being solution-based and thinking outside the box as to how we can provide a service to the vets, right? And Operation Gratitude is an organization that utilizes volunteers, and they reach out to the companies and hold them accountable for being socially responsible. So whether it be M&M Mars or Target or whomever, if you have anything to donate, they then solicit their volunteers to put the care packages together. So at any of our events, we'll have these packages available for veterans, and we'll try to make sure that at least once a month a veteran will be able to come to our office or meet us wherever we are in the community, and we have these readily available for you, just because we understand that there's going to be gaps that need to be filled. And one of the things, and then we'll enter into our roundtable discussion, I'll say, is that what's around this table right now is really the process of making it all better. Being solution-oriented, having representatives from every level of government, federal, local, and community-based organizations with the input of our constituency. So we all out here today, we have a little bit more time left. We want to be respectful of the time. We want to be respectful of your opinion, because for us, the main thing for this is to be able to take back and learn, right? Listen, actively learn, so that way we understand exactly as we discuss our initiatives that we are not just being narrow-minded or doing it from our own perspective, but from the perspective of the veterans that engage with us. So this is an opportunity for us to engage. We partner and collaborate with other agencies, other organizations, to just kind of find out what's out there, what's going on. As Ms. Walker said, and others have said, being boots on the ground, when your staff is limited to 5, the opportunities like this to have walking engagement is what allows us to be able to shape the programs that are going to make DC the best place for veterans, because we know what we bring. As a city, we know. We stand on Woodrow Wilson and we have an option of going to Virginia, Maryland, and DC, and we want to make that decision to come to DC more appealing. And as a native Washingtonian, someone who decided to come back home because I thought this was the best city in the world, the call is on us that are being, appointed or employed or just, called by a higher power to serve your community, whether through employment or whether just through community action, to help us make this city, more livable, a better environment overall. So I know there's a lot that we're going to get to. If you see the agenda, the discussion that we laid out is not necessarily has to go in that particular order, but we want that it's solution based, right? So if we want to hear what your issues are, and anyone around the table, if we want to, any solutions that maybe already exist, let's be respectful of the speaker that has the floor. We're not going to dog the time. We all serve, and we're continuing to serve, and we're going to make sure that we get through this as smoothly and fluently as possible. For those that just came into the room, if there are any organizations that are represented, before we get proceed, I do want to allow and acknowledge that opportunity, because we want to know who's in here. We don't want to miss an opportunity to be able to value the voice. We're going to value everyone's voice anyway, but to be able to hold the organizations accountable.